Dear fellow associates, as I sat down to write this note, my last as CEO, I felt a surge of emotions. All of you, my PepsiCo family, have held a special place in my heart since the day I joined this company 24 years ago. In the weeks since my departure was announced, I've heard from so many of you in so many different parts of the world. And while I haven't had the time to respond to all your messages, I've read each and every one, some with tears in my eyes. There are no words to describe how much they mean to me, how deeply I've been moved by the outpouring of love. So while I will remain on as chairman until early next year, I've been in a reflective mood lately and recently reread my very first letter to you all from the summer of 2006. We face an ever more challenging business environment, I wrote, and we need to get out in front of events and shape them rather than to wait and be buffeted by them. This means we will have to be bolder and more creative than ever before. Over the past 48 quarters, that's exactly what we've done, and we've reaped the rewards. In fact, it gives me great pleasure and pride to say that PepsiCo heads into its next era with an incredibly strong foundation. A foundation made even stronger by our performance in Q3 of 2018, when we generated $16.5 billion of net revenue and delivered core earnings per share of $1.59. These results were powered by 4.9% organic revenue growth, the highest rate of organic growth in 12 quarters, and strong performances from the majority of our businesses. But most of all, our results last quarter have been empowered, as always, by all of you, our incomparable associates. You have helped make this company the icon it is today, and you have taught me so much through your ingenuity, commitment to excellence, and passion for serving your communities. So while I know this is the moment I'm supposed to gently lay down the reins, I hope you will indulge me one last time as I share some reflections, some lessons on what I've learned during my tenure, lessons that have guided me throughout my career, and that I hope may be of use to you in the years to come. First, whether you work in operations, sales, R&D, or any of our functions, always have a clear, compelling vision for what you want to accomplish. As it is written in the book of Proverbs, where there is no vision, the people perish. And I found that to be true for all of us, no matter our role in the company. Second, focus on the short term and the long term. Yes, you need to hit your short-term targets, but always try to do so in a way that's sustainable over the long haul. A way that balances the company's level and duration of returns. A way that generates a profit while also making a difference. Always advancing the values of performance with purpose. Third, bring people along with you. No matter how smart your strategy, success, or failure usually comes down to one thing: the team. In everything you do, find teammates who can help execute your vision and empower them to succeed. Fourth, be good listeners. When someone gives you feedback, assume positive intent. Assume they're genuinely trying to help. Think their words over and be willing to challenge your assumptions. I promise it will make you better associates and better people. Fifth, be lifelong students. Our world is changing rapidly all around us, and if you want to continue to thrive in the years ahead, you'll need to continually educate yourself. Visit our lifelong learning library, take a course at PepsiCo University, listen to podcasts, or search Google. However you do it, make your ongoing education a priority. Finally, think hard about time. We have so little of it on this earth. Make the most of your days and make space for the loved ones who matter most. Take it from me, I've been blessed with an amazing career, but if I'm being honest, there have been moments I wish I'd spent more time with my children and family. So I encourage you, be mindful of your choices on the road ahead. Looking to the future, I have no doubt that PepsiCo's best days are still to come. Ramon is a great executive and one of the hardest working, most humble people I know. A global leader who knows our business inside and out. He is actually exactly the right person to lead PepsiCo at this moment. And he is taking over a team that is one of the strongest, most tightly knit in our industry or any industry. Serving as your CEO has been the honor of a lifetime. Now it's on to the next adventure for us all. Thinking about my life beyond PepsiCo, I'm reminded of the words of the great Sufi mystic Rumi. Goodbyes are only for those who love with their eyes, Rumi teaches, because for those who love with heart and soul, there is no such thing as separation. To all my colleagues, friends, and family, thank you for making the last 24 years special beyond words. Though I will no longer be in the office every day, I take comfort knowing that we will never truly be apart because I have loved this company and each of you with all my heart and soul, and I always will. With deepest affection, Indra. So that excerpt was taken from Indra Nooyi, farewell letter to PepsiCo associates, delivered on October 2nd, 2018. And I think it's a great place to start this episode 12 on Indra Nooyi of PepsiCo, as she reflects back on her illustrative career and is able to outline some key lessons and ones that should be studied as far as her trajectory goes from a leadership standpoint as a CEO. So why study her? There's many reasons why I think she's deserving of an episode here to be examined further from a leadership style, as well as just tracking her career path and success. And we will dive into that now. So with that, wanted to welcome you back to Leaders, a podcast dedicated to exploring the best leaders this world has ever seen. Indra Nooyi, we will cover off briefly her career path, but then get into a lot of her defining career moments as well as her leadership style and what key takeaways we can learn from her as you study and dive deeper into her as a person, her as a leader, and her overall career experiences and learnings here. So she started in consulting at BCG, and she actually points to that consulting background in the early 80s as helping her to get to understand how to strategize and grow other businesses. So she really credits that experience with helping her to shape some of these newer industries and things that she goes into, particularly within Pepsi, and in that she didn't have direct experience within that industry previously, so she had to learn quickly as far as what that retail industry entailed. And so she then moves from consulting background into a few positions at J&J, being kind of more head of strategy and planning and president of their consumer products, before moving into Pepsi in 1999 as senior vice president of global strategic planning, and then before assuming the CEO seat in 2006, 2007, 2001 to 2006 was president and COO of PepsiCo, and she's the first woman of Indian origin to head a Fortune 500 company, also the first woman to head PepsiCo. The revenues grew from $35 billion to $100 billion under her reign, really crediting with expanding their product line and making the company more environmentally friendly. She replaced Steven Reinemund and became the fifth CEO in their 44-year history. And a lot of what defines her career, I think, within Pepsi is a lot of her strategic redirection of PepsiCo. And she really made that intentional and really set out to have that as a long-term initiative for the company to execute. And that was done through performance with a purpose, which is largely successful, involves creating long-term growth while leaving a positive impact on the society and the environment. Reclassed PepsiCo products into three categories: fun for you, such as potato chips and regular soda; better for you, diet or low-fat versions of snacks and sodas; and good for you, items such as oatmeal. Her initiative was backed up with ample funding, moved corporate spending away from junk foods and into the healthier alternatives with the aim of improving the healthiness of even the fun offerings. She again expanded that product line. She was involved in kind of product line development through mergers and acquisitions. Tropicana comes to mind, as well as developing out Quaker Oats was a larger acquisition as well. And she also made PepsiCo more environmentally friendly by reducing its use of water and energy and by using more sustainable packaging. So she was definitely ahead of trend on that. And then let's just go into her thoughts on leadership here. A few things to start off with of what she views as the leader, and then really diving into more of the qualities that encapsulate her leadership style, and then a few stories of people that had closely worked with her, followed up by some quotes here at the end of this section. So really, she felt like, and still feels like, the fundamental role of a leader is to look for ways to shape the decades ahead, not just react to the present, and to help others accept the discomfort of disruptions to the status quo. So that performance with a purpose and the strategic redirection that she took within PepsiCo as far as what products they were offering and what they wanted to market and sell to, really, I think, highlights her backing up those words a lot. And she pushes leaders to realize the importance of their role in setting the tone to achieve equitable workplaces. Diversity is about numbers, she says, while inclusiveness is a mindset that needs to come from the top. And she feels that leaders need to anticipate and respond to those shifts in culture, whether that be culture from the internal standpoint or just as a macro level, culture-wise, of where people's consumption habits are going or what people are valuing in a business and a product. And she said she had to muster the courage to change my mind when the environment changed and required a different approach to the business. That was leadership. Good business demands tough decisions based on rigorous analysis and unwavering follow-through. Emotion can't really play a part. The challenge we all face as leaders is to let the feelings churn inside you, but then to present a calm exterior. And I learned to do that. She goes on to say, I think that leaders need to understand the details behind what they are approving before they affix their signature to anything. This is not about trusting the people that work for you. It's about basic responsibility. Don't be a pass-through. I think the people who worked for me came to appreciate that I read everything they sent me, both as a mark of respect to them and their work and because it was my responsibility. I know I drove people crazy with questions, but this was my job. I intended to do it well. So very, intentional leadership here, detail-oriented. She says, but true leaders must keep their feet firmly rooted to the ground and focus on the responsibilities of their jobs. That's what I always tried to do. I felt I was a role model with everyone watching me. She says we would deliver excellent performance as was expected for PepsiCo, but would add 3 imperatives to our work ahead. And these, I think, model the 3 that we had mentioned in some way before, but nourish humanity and the communities in which we live, replenish our environment, and cherish the people in our company. So a lot of this, I think, looking ahead and long-term thinking really points to her having a kind of visionary leadership style in terms of her ability to set a clear and compelling vision for the organization, emphasizing those long-term goals and focusing on sustainable growth while guiding PepsiCo towards healthier product offerings and a more environmentally conscious approach. Very strategic in her thinking as well and leadership style, and that comes from her I think education, Yale management school, into very strategic kind of consulting background. So, analyzing market trends, consumer preferences to drive innovation and make strategic business decisions, very calculated in terms of hers transforming their product portfolio into healthier snacks and beverages to adapt to those changing consumer demands. Also, within her role, she has to be fairly decisive. So, known for that and willingness to make tough decisions, implemented a lot of major restructuring initiatives and divestitures, streamlining their operations and improving efficiency. So, whenever you're going through some redirection or strategic moves for the future, some things have to give. And so a lot of that is making some tough decisions that we've highlighted within these episodes, as far as a CEO is kind of appointed to indeed make those right, tough decisions on a regular basis. So she also kind of is fostering a collaborative approach within her leadership style. So, again, that inclusive work environment, believing in the power of diverse perspectives and encouraging open communication and teamwork, and a supportive culture. Very people oriented as well. So, caring deeply about the well being and development of her employees, prioritizing talent management, mentorship, and leadership development programs to nurture the next generation of leaders within PepsiCo. Also, advocating for work-life balance and family-friendly policies that, again, was struck from her personal experience, similar to our last episode with Sheryl Sandberg, and what she went through personally and how she then wanted to speak up and truly value those things in the business and company that she was helping to run. Resilience and adaptability. So there's a lot of challenges through the economic crisis and some volatile commodity markets, shifting consumer preferences for PepsiCo. So not an easy thing to navigate, predominantly because of PepsiCo's kind of notoriety of being kind of that forward-facing soda company, but her really believing in it's going to go beyond a chips and pop sort of company. So a lot of resilience exhibited there. And then finally, we've touched upon this a little bit, but social responsibility. So championing corporate social responsibility and sustainability, integrating social and environmental considerations into business practices, focusing on reducing environmental impact, and supporting communities through philanthropic initiatives. Two quick stories of people working with her. So PepsiCo's former chief design officer, Mauro Porcini, who worked with Indra Nooyi, shared his experiences. He mentioned that she empowered him to bring design thinking into the organization and supported his efforts to transform PepsiCo's product portfolio. He also praised her for her visionary leadership and willingness to embrace innovation, which led to significant changes in the company's design and branding strategies. And another one was a former SVP at PepsiCo, Brad Jakeman. So he praised her for her ability to foster an inclusive and collaborative work environment. He described how she encouraged open dialogue and debate, allowing diverse perspectives to be heard and valued. Also emphasized her leadership created a culture where people felt comfortable challenging the status quo and contributing their ideas, ultimately leading to better decision-making and innovation within the company. And before we go into the quotes section, I want to back up a little bit here, and usually this is referenced, but from she does have a memoir here that I read that a lot of this material comes from, and that is My Life in Full, Work, Family, and Our Future. There are she is pretty public with appearances on podcasts, as well as she has her own website where she promotes a lot of different things and has some good material there. So that was, some of the source material here of really, um, it can be rare, I guess, to study someone who has a book and releases a book while they are still CEO or very shortly thereafter retiring CEO. So, a nice resource to have to hear from her directly as far as her life path as well as her thoughts directly on leadership. And just to take us into the some of the quotes, I think that bring that home too. So just rattling some of these off here, lots of them with a context of leadership. So leadership is harder to find and good leadership even harder. But if you can't get people to follow you to the ends of the earth, but if you can get people to follow you to the ends of the earth, you are a great leader. I think my learning to be a better listener allowed me to become a better leader. If you want to improve the organization, you have to improve yourself and the organization gets pulled up with you. The difference between number 1 and number 2 is always a constant. If you want to improve the organization, you have to improve yourself, and the organization gets pulled up with you. That is a big lesson. I cannot just expect the organization to improve if I don't improve myself and lift the organization, because that distance is a constant. Leadership is about making others better as a result of your presence and making sure that impact lasts in your absence. We've heard that a lot in terms of the successor leadership CEOs that follow these strong leaders, and it's a testament of perhaps the strength of their leadership as to how the company does, how the next CEO that follows them that they choose, or the framework and infrastructure that they put in place. Can a leader come in, whether they are the right choice for it or not, and succeed? And so, again, a constant theme there as far as the 12 people that we have studied have had kind of mixed results in terms of the legacy and or how the company performs thereafter. And some of those are still to be determined, as we've highlighted. Satya, Jeff Bezos to an extent is still involved with Amazon, so those are yet to be seen. But just an interesting, I think, learning from how much weight can we place on that as far as evaluating them as an effective leader. Going back to the quotes here, the one thing I've learned as a CEO is that leadership at various levels is vastly different. When I was leading a function or a business, there were certain demands and requirements to be a leader. As you move up the organization, the requirements for leading that organization don't grow vertically. They grow exponentially. I'm very honest, brutally honest. I always look at things from their point of view as well as mine, and I know when to walk away. If you don't have a competitive advantage, don't compete. The most important thing I have learned is that leaders are not born. They are made. And they are just made just like anything else through hard work. The most successful people are those who accept, adapt, and leverage challenges as opportunities. Greatness comes not from a position, but from helping build the future. We have an obligation to pull others up. Finally here, the challenge of a leader is looking around the corner and making change before it's too late. Again, a common theme here, I think, amongst the leaders that we've studied is change is inevitable, and how you adapt to that change, or how do you deal with that change, or how do you anticipate change. Change management is a key component of leaders and executives that we've studied here. And we will now go into a little bit from a failure standpoint here. And she has an excerpt from her book that she mentions here, and she likes to say, I'd have liked to wave the wand and had the financial crisis go away, because that was a very disruptive couple of years in the life of any company. And I would have loved for our problems with bottlers to be addressed with conversation or dialogue, or something simple, as opposed to having to buy them back and integrate them and really create a new company. And so my 2 6-year terms were marked by different jolts to the system. But I can't do it over, but I wish it was different. So maybe a little bit of just regret or just wishing that the times or the circumstances were a little bit different. From an outside point of view, a few things from like Quaker Oats acquisition. So they acquired them in 2001. Integration process proved to be more difficult and costly than anticipated. Performance of Gatorade brand initially fell short of expectations. Initially seen as a setback maybe for PepsiCo, she definitely did work to address the issues and eventually turned it into a major success. So some early hiccups maybe of M&A activity there. Performance of PepsiCo's soda business. So under her tenure, they faced some challenges in the traditional soda business. Company declining sales of carbonated beverages as their preferences shifted towards those healthy alternatives. Attempts to revitalize its soda business did not yield significant results, and they faced, always growing intense competition from Coke. She focused on diversifying their portfolio by expanding into healthier snacks and beverages, which helped offset those declining soda sales. So maybe a ultimately like wise decision to acknowledge that soda sales and maybe doubling down on those efforts may have been not to her benefit from a company success standpoint, and that the consumer trends just are not going to go that way. So mixed, I guess, result of what we outlined there. Shareholder pressure. So she faced pressure from shareholders to deliver stronger financial performance, as does most CEOs. Some investors criticized her strategy of investing in healthier products, questioned the returns on those investments, made some sizable acquisitions within that. So did they pay off or not? Remained steadfast in our long-term vision and emphasized the importance of that sustainable growth and meeting changing consumer demands, kind of as a kind of response to that, I suppose. And then finally, our last section here, short section, I will go over as to a few of the key kind of mentors and heroes that she encountered through her Pepsi years. So Donald Kendall was a former CEO of PepsiCo, one of her kind of early mentors. Credited him with teaching her the importance of strategic thinking, how to navigate the business world. Another former CEO of PepsiCo was Wayne Calloway. He also had a significant impact on her career. Mentioned think more strategically and broadened her understanding of the business. When she was also considering, before she moved to Pepsi, she was strongly considering, from episode 3, Jack Welch was recruiting her pretty heavily to GE. And really, Wayne was instrumental in selling Pepsi, or kind of recruiting her to Pepsi over her deciding to move to GE. So formative transformation there. Bob Detmer, who was the CFO of Pepsi, says the difference is that thanks to the incredible tone on the top set by Wayne and Bob Detmer, they made me feel welcome. I would say 90% of the executives included me, took me around, introduced me to everybody in the company, and they made sure they lived up to the message from Wayne Calloway, who they all respected, to say, this is somebody that I've brought in because the company needs somebody of her skill and expertise and background to change the culture of this company. And then Steve Rainemund, he served as the CEO right before Indra, and so he played a role in her development as a leader, highlighting his support and guidance during her tenure at PepsiCo and acknowledging the positive influence he had on her career. And then finally, Roger Enrico, who is a former chairman of PepsiCo, mentioned by her as a mentor, who inspired her with his ability to lead with authenticity and purpose. She has spoken about the impact he has had on her leadership style and decision making. And so, with that, we come to the end of episode 12 here on highly successful former Pepsi CEO Indra Nooyi. Definitely from a leadership style standpoint, to summarize here, very strategic, very calculated, very visionary in terms of she had a clear vision for what she wanted to do at Pepsi when she got there, and really backed it up and made the actions and necessary moves to really align the company so that they are set up for success, to diversify their product portfolio and set them up. So, a lot of her experiences, I think, helped her through in that, she didn't have, the experience going into some of the roles along her career, but she was a fast learner and really leaned on a lot of the people and mentors that were around her to get there. So, Indra Nooyi, definitely recommend studying her further, reading the book that she has wrote as well, to really get into some applicable, I think, takeaways from a leadership style and how some of the positive qualities that she exhibits, some people can take and adopt into their leadership practice. So with that, glad to be back here with episode 12 and hope to have episode 13 here shortly. Thanks.